Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events. And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on Television Nigerian.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Daybreak Africa here on Television Nigeria. It's Monday and my name is Messi Joe.
My name is Elvis Oga. Of course, it's a brand new week and we'd like to welcome you officially on today's edition of the program Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. Yeah,
and to our new subscribers, welcome to Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. How was the weekend?
My weekend was lit. How about yours?
It was lit. Fire.
Okay. That's by the way on the lieutenant.
Yeah. All right. So the IGP, that's the Inspector General of Police, orders for the arrest of anyone found in illegal possession of arms. Firearms. That's ahead of the Ondo-Edo state elections because it seems like a lot of violence has emerged through these rallies and campaigns and what have you in the past few weeks. Yes. And then even INEC is threatening to postpone the elections if this violence persists. And then the IGP has also ordered the commissioners of the various 36 states in the country, including the FCT, to take charge of this and make sure none of this, no person is actually found with any form of arms.
You know, this call by the IGP is quite timely and is very prompt, especially owing to the fact that the governor of Benue State made a similar call last week, maybe suggesting that citizens or responsible citizens should be allowed to carry firearms just to defend themselves. If you look at the state of insecurity, you might want to give it a thought or reasoning to an extent, but the general view of it is that if care is not taken and then if the whole situation is not handled properly, you might not have a spike in the case of insecurity because then everybody will have arms at his or her disposal, and then at the slightest provocation you might want to open on anybody you find around yourself, or people might tend to hijack the whole process and be like, okay, you just feel like you've towards somebody, and people might not really see the need to go to court and say other things. But concerning Edo and Ondo elections, like I said, the call by the IGP is prompt and is very timely. We've seen our different elections come and go, and we've seen what has normally been characterizing our polls from around this part of the world, and people have been reacting. Especially I remember when you were telling me that the youth have actually been saying that the erstwhile national chairman of APC is meddling too much into the polity in Edo State, especially concerning the governorship election. In as much as two wrongs don't make a right, but this is not the first time we've seen that happen. And then, as long as he is a member of the APC, ordinarily people may want to see, or people were expecting that, okay, due to his suspension, he may want to distance himself.
Yeah, but then he's still very much in our faces, active.
And all. So, in as much as he's doing all of that, and then he's not going against any law, and he's not breaking any rule or any law, I don't see anything wrong with it. But for the issue of maybe instigating the youth against each other or passing incisive comments that are capable of maybe resulting or degenerating into unhealthy rancor, it's a no-no. So that is why the IGP is saying that. And you know, producer was talking about trying to link that and then oversee our journey to democracy so far.
All right. Still on insecurity, misinformation of the causes of killings in Kaduna State. That's El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna, has come out to say there's a misinformation on the causes behind the killings in southern Kaduna. Now, he's saying it's not ethnic, tribal clashes. It's just the normal menace, insecurity menace happening in the northern region of Nigeria that is coming into Kaduna as well. That he's saying that over time, yes, there might have been ethnic, tribal disputes, but then this particular reason is not because of ethnic, tribal clashes. It's just the menace, like the criminality is happening in the northern region of the country.
You know, when we step into democracy and then a whole lot of things actually happen, and I wouldn't want to say we were not really ready for democracy, but just that democracy, you know, allows you
after 20 years,
allows you some certain things to go extra lengths, do some certain things, and then as long as even though if you're going wrong, but as long as the authorities have not really decided or passed a verdict on that, that's why they will tell you an accused person is innocent until proven guilty and all. So
talking about an accused person is proven is now you see the INEC and then the deregistration of the parties asking was it really right, constitutionally right? Do INEC have the power to actually deregister this candidate, and then
until the court of law settles that, nobody can actually say nothing. And like you were saying, the point I was trying to drive at, I was trying to make is the fact that it's so unfortunate that whatever happens from this part of the world at the times we find ourselves, we tend to politicize it.
Everything.
When I look at between maybe party lines or political inclinations and all, but that's not supposed to be. So El-Rufai may be right to an extent, because maybe misinformation,
like you said.
Some people maybe out of their selfish interest, they carry out a crime or a heinous crime or dastard act, and then they try to politicize it, and then
they make it look like a particular set of people are trying to frustrate the effort of a particular set of government or people. That's the way we see it over the years.
And then that's why we keep talking about records and history. Like he has admitted or acknowledged the fact that over time there may have been
ethnic tribal clashes
and even religious clashes as well. But even though if that is not what's happening at the moment, you know, there are some certain other factors that people want to look into and then maybe buttress their point or maybe justify their suspicion.
And then the way the killings are happening, can you really see it and understand that it is not really ethnic and tribal, it is criminal?
You look at the body language, the willingness or the political will of the government to deal with it, and then the response to some of the complaints being laid, and then how they're being followed up. We've seen some places, maybe particularly not in Kaduna in this case, but around this country, where there are issues of maybe criminal activities, and then arrests are made. At the end of the day, you don't get to hear anything, maybe especially when some people who are presumably sacred cows are touched. Then you see godfathers or people well-meaning raising voices. At the end of the day, we've even seen situations where people who commit crimes are arrested, and then innocent people are being framed up and being replaced with them.
We've seen
allegations of that time, that number. So if we really want to say, okay, this is normal criminal activities or more like insecurity in the northern part of the country, we should be able to look at the body language of the government and see that, okay, truly there is no favoritism, there is no siding of anybody. And then if that is the case, okay, we're agreeing that it's part of the insecurity in the northern part of the country. What are we doing to solve the problem?
Actually, what are we doing? Well, moving to other issues, COVID-19. Ogun State and Ekiti State finally has resumed church fellowship. I mean, that's after 5 months, irrespective of other states opening up their churches, and then a general pronouncement by PTF some time ago that churches can reopen and mosques can reopen. Finally, Ekiti State and Ogun State.
It's a two-way thing. If you look at it, you understand that, okay, some people, when the lockdown was actually in place, some people voice out their concern, and then their disagreement with the whole situation.
The whole easing of the lockdown.
No, apart from that, when the lockdown was in place, some people felt, okay, markets were open, other places were open. So why the religious centers not open? And you look at it that way. Some other people feel, okay, the church is not just the building, it is the people, or the worship is not the building or the places, it's the people. So some people came with that line of thought and all. But at the end of the day, you saw that even in Lagos, when it was open, there were some selected churches that refused to open.
They used to say they will still remain shut down.
So I think they say it's better that, okay, when you know that there's a danger coming, it's better that you just safeguard yourself, and then you don't use yourself as a testing ground for some of those things. So for Ekiti and then
Ogun State
not to reopen alongside the federal government, they may have their reasons.
Yeah, because even Lagos just opened last week.
You know Ogun, it's quite in close proximity with Lagos, and then Lagos is more like the epicenter of the infection. So Ogun, after maybe do consultation and making the people understand we are doing this for your good and all, maybe bringing reasoning from, like, okay, the places of worship is not the true place, you are the worship yourself and all. So if they can make the people understand that way, it's not really bad. And in as much as they have reopened, maybe we may, as the time goes on, we'll see if some churches feel like, okay, it's not really safe for us to go back. If some mosques feel it's not really safe for us to go back, then they maybe maintain the status quo for now, because at the end of the day, we're just concerned about the safety of the lives of the people.
Yeah, because I keep saying this, we are the economy. It's only when we are safe that an economy can actually move on. Well, the total cases worldwide for coronavirus in the world stands now at 21 million plus. And then the deaths so far of COVID-19 worldwide is 700,000 plus. But a very, very big gap there.
When I saw those figures, I was actually trying to do my calculations and see the seriousness of the whole thing. Yeah, I was like, you just said, very wide gap, 21 million to 700,000.
You know, I was saying, okay, the people that have that, we are not saying that any life does not count, but then 21 million, 700,000. The gap is quite wide.
I'm not just even looking at the gap. You know, the number of casualties that were being recorded from places like Italy, US, you know, at a particular time, you may feel that, okay, by now the numbers of the dead
should have escalated. That's what I mean. Like there's a surprising realization of this COVID-19 eventually.
To an extent. And then I just feel that, okay, the whole thing came and took the world by surprise, but with all hands on deck, and then scientists working around the clock and all. I think the humans have actually been able to find a way of managing this situation better. Don't forget that we're talking about the vaccine out of Russia last week or 2 weeks back already. So
Big Brother Nigeria. So Big Brother Nigeria, yesterday 4 housemates were asked to stand up who were going to be up for possible eviction in person of Kaisha, Trikiti, Neo, and Watoni. Yes, Watoni, the Kenyan Nigerian girl. So now out of those 4 persons, 1 person left the house. That was Kaisha. So all of the housemates nominated Kaisha out of the house. Although among those 4 people, the person with the lowest vote, according to the tally brought up by Big Brother Nigeria, was Neo. Followed by Watoni with the lowest. No, Neo had the lowest, followed by Watoni, and then Trikiti, and then Kaisha. So I was saying something.
So among all the nominees, she even had the highest vote.
Had the highest vote.
But unfortunately, the housemates evicted her.
So people are saying, do we think we really like this system of Big Brother? Because it looks like the audience, I thought it's supposed to be something for the audience. So if the audience love this particular person and they still want the person to be in the house, the person is supposed to stay. Because if I am a fan of Kaisha and I tune to Big Brother, then she's no longer there. I think it will make me not even watch it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we saw, in as much as we enjoying the intrigues and the drama, because then the non-predictability of the whole process of everything that's happening in the Big Brother house. Because I was just looking at like that point you just raised.
True.
She is not the person, or she was not the person with the least vote
the
that
least
were
vote
up for
was
eviction
Neo.
yesterday.
Was
and
Neo.
then she got evicted. Then secondly, since this edition, the lockdown edition, this is the first time we've seen only a single eviction. So what are the factors that played into had two people evicted, and then this time around she left alone? Like the whole thing, but like I said, the intrigues are actually catching, and then we're enjoying them.
Big Brother Nigeria. All right, it's time to go to the news desk to get news from Susan Achin.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils, and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking, or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health, and WHO.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. As Nigeria gradually reopens its economy amid the ravaging coronavirus pandemic, the country has reported 298 more infections, the third lowest since June 8. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, announced the latest figure in a late-night tweet on Sunday. It explained that the new infections were reported from 15 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The new figure brings the total number of cases in Nigeria to 49,068. According to the latest update on the outbreak, the nation's health agency revealed that 207 more people have been successfully treated and discharged from the various isolation centers in the country. On the other hand, the death toll from the disease is also witnessing a slow increase as it approaches the 1,000 mark. The Nigerian Air Force NAV has deployed additional special forces to southern Kaduna to boost the ongoing fight against bandits and suspected ethnic militia who have been terrorizing residents of the area. The Air Officer commanding NAV Training Command, Air Marshal Musa Mukhtar, addressed the troops before their departure to the southern part of the state on Sunday. He asked them to complement the efforts of the Nigerian Army troops attached to Operation Safe Haven by providing both ground and air power during the operation against the criminal elements. Mukhtar, however, warned the troops to respect the human rights of the people of southern Kaduna during the operation. And now the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has written to President Muhammadu Buhari asking him to instruct the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, to withdraw the 5 million naira fine on hate speech. In the letter, the Commission asked President Buhari to direct the Information Minister and NBC to immediately rescind the fine of 5 million naira imposed on Nigeria Info 99.3 FM radio station following the reported comments by a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Obadiah Mai-Lafia, during an interview with the station. And now moving on to the entertainment scene this week, 14 housemates were up for possible eviction, and surprisingly, this was not a double eviction night. Trikiti, Kaisha, Wathoni, and surprisingly Neil made the bottom 4 list for the night, leaving them at the mercy of safe housemates. The rules slightly changed for the night, given the HOH veto to choose should they be a tie in the votes. Perhaps Kidwaya's choice of Kaisha sets the pace for the night, considering the results that saw the selected housemate evicted from the lockdown season. And that's it on AM News. I am Susan Achin. Daybreak Africa will continue shortly. Stay with us.
Alright, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is still Daybreak Africa here on television, Nigeria. That was news reviewed by Susan Achin there. So it's time to go over to the dailies to see what we have this morning.
And interestingly, we have this beautiful newspaper, this national daily here to begin with, and it happens to be the business day. So it's actually a week filled with business opportunities and all. All right, let's take a look at headlines we have from the business day this morning. In Nigeria, education is no longer enough to find job. Lagos at crossroad over business model for owned multi-billion theaters. And then the inside story here, which will be the last headline I'll be taking from the business day this morning. See special series on unemployment data. Pick a copy of the business day for details of these stories and even more.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Times newspaper this morning. The headline here above the nameplate with some women. No multiple taxation, harsh economy may cripple federal government's 75 billion naira youth investment fund. That's on page 2. Below the nameplate there, aviation. It's wrong to prefer foreign pilots to Nigerian counterparts. That's on page 4. Beside that, governorship elections. INEC searches for transparency ahead of Edo-Ondo elections. That's on page 4. Economy, how to address challenges of infrastructure financing. That's on page 5. Then I'll take the editorial story, which says Chinese loans and sovereignty clause. That's on page 3 of the Daily Times newspaper. Well, that does it for the Daily Times newspaper this morning.
And a quick look at this day newspaper reviews the following headlines from the top to the bottom above the nameplate. CBN, BDCs to get dollars on resumption of international flights. Below that, states offer tax relief to individuals, businesses. And then the banner headline one from this day newspaper this morning reads, arming regional security outfits, vigilantes inimical to national safety, IG warns. Others clamp down on prohibited firearms. Beside that, groups rally support for NABA over DSS invitation. And beside the picture story, Unilag Council gives details of Ogundipe's alleged financial misdemeanor. And then I'll take this last one here, which is below the picture story. Buhari, Lawan, Jonathan, Atiku felicitated with Babangida at 79. That can be found on page 5 of this day newspaper. And that does it for this day newspaper this morning.
All right, looking over the Punch newspaper this morning, the big headline here, COVID-19 fear, mixed reactions persist, concern eases of WASC begins today. Parents lament additional financial burden, coronavirus charges. Provide PPE for yourselves if government fails. NUT tells teachers. That's on page 2. below the nameplate there. Police nabbed 7 for cloning SIM cards to empty deceased accounts. Wow, that's on page 4 and 6 of the Punch newspaper. Still beside that, police declare manhunt as detained Oyo serial killer escapes. That's on page 4. Hoodlums defy Amotekun, abduct 2 men in Ondo State. That's on page 4. Above the nameplate, debt servicing gulps 1.5 trillion naira in 6 months. That's on page 26. ShopRite battles $10 million judgment debt barred from transferring assets. That's on page 17. That's coming after we thought they were going to make a closure in the country.
Yeah.
Well, let me take this story here. Nigeria traders must pay $1 million fee. Ghana insists. I will take this last story. 6 power plants shut in 35 hours. Generation slumps. That's on page 26. Well, you can get a hold of those stories and many more stories when you take or pick up the Punch newspaper.
Now from the front pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning, the banner headline from the National Daily reads, Nigeria in tough policy options over recession. Economy caves in as COVID-19 reveals old landmines. Spend out stagnation, economists advise government. Labour, NACA, others fought unemployment report. We must avoid looming depression. And then below that, fresh concerns over NDDC crisis, planned 24 billion naira road inauguration by Buhari. Unions threaten showdown over proposed airport concession, and that story can be found on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Below that, how oil theft fuels proliferation of arms in Niger Delta by report. Calls for Lekwoi's execution will set Nigeria ablaze, says Khan, others. And then that actually does it for the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, so let's take a look at the next newspaper right here, which is the Nation newspaper. Governors, lawmakers, others share 774,000 jobs. So finally, this comes to the headlines again. Ministers, religious institutions, transport workers, women's societies, CSOs get slots. October takeoff on course. That's on page 6 right here. No, page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate, range to pound Lagos next month. That's on page 42. Mimiko Akeredolu, row about Ajayi. That's on page 12. Killer suspect escapes from police custody. That's on page 6. And I'll take this inside story. Ize Iyamu promises more roles for monarchs. APC, PDP in face-off over printing of PVCs. Apprehension as Jagede picks running mate. PDP governors not behind renegade. That's on page 12 of the Nation newspaper. Well, that does it for the Nation newspaper this morning.
Now on to the Daily Sun newspaper this morning. Beside the nameplate, IPOB, peace deal with Ohaneze intact. You can check page 26 of the Daily Sun for detail of that particular story. And in the banner headline from the Daily Sun this morning, insecurity, IGP orders CPs to mop illegal weapons, directs Edo Ondo commands to crack down on thugs. Oyo CP confirms escape of prime suspect of Ibadu ritual killings from custody. That story or those stories can be found on page 5 and 6 of the Daily Sun. Below the picture story, backing Igbo to produce next president will right past wrongs. Fani Kayode. And then I'll take this one here. Banks lending to oil gas industry suffers $3 billion decline. And that can be found on page 25 of the Daily Sun newspaper. I take this last one here that is talking about crackdown on insecurity. NAV deploys special force to southern Kaduna. You can do well by picking a copy of the Daily Sun to get the details of these stories and even more.
All right, let's take a look at the last dailies here, which is the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Task relief states to get World Bank's $2.5 million grant. That's on page 4. Bigger container vessel to berth in Nigeria arrives on airport. That's from the NPA. That's on page 5. Above the nameplate. Anger as police say suspected Ibadan serial killer escaped from its custody. How that happened, that's on page 4. Beside that, NAF deploys special forces in southern Kaduna. I think you just read that out.
Yeah.
That's on page 24. PDP APC trade words over fake voters cards. Violence in Edo. That's on page 33. So you can get a copy of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper to get a hold of that story. So it's about that time.
We go across Africa for some more news.
Welcome to News Across Africa on Daybreak Africa. Now, President Alassane Ouattara will run for a third term in the October elections in Cote d'Ivoire, and some 50-odd Ivorians are indignant as they took to the streets of Abidjan, the capital city, where they blocked roads in protest of the recent decision. Around 4 people have already lost their lives in the series of violent manifestations sparked by the national political discord. On an official level, the opposition Wednesday banded together, originating from several political platforms close to Henry Konan Bedi, Laurent Gbagbo, Julian Soro, and Charles Ble Godeto. They collectively demanded the withdrawal of the current president's candidacy from the run of the presidency, as well as required significant modifications to the Independent Electoral Commission, which they have found to be of questionable standing. They even called for the immediate resignation of its president, alleging that the electoral list, which they also urged to be made public, had been manipulated with the assistance of the Voodoo Communication Agency. Not acceptable was the response of Namibian President Hage Geingob in rejection of the German government's proposal during negotiations that began in 2015 to atone for the gravity of the genocide committed against the Herero and Nama people of today's Namibia between 1904 and 1908 during German colonial rule. Just under an estimated 200,000 people were imprisoned in concentration camps after an uprising against the colonizers. They were then tortured, experimented upon, and consequently almost all murdered, with around only 15,000 left of the ethnic group. During this tragedy now known as the Battle of Waterberg, heinous crimes that many historians consider to be the first genocide of the 20th century and the dress rehearsal for the Nazi Holocaust later to come. Berlin, although having already acknowledged responsibility for the massacre, is yet to make an official apology and has repeatedly refused to pay direct reparations to the Namibian government on the matter, citing the supposed millions of euros in development aid paid to the Namibian government. As a matter of fact, the German government is actually keen on the non-employment of the term reparation. Nearly 2,000 people have been evicted from a housing development in Johannesburg. According to local media, the occupants of the housing development were evicted by the so-called Red Ants on Wednesday. The Red Ants are a private security company in South Africa specializing in clearing illegal invaders from properties. They had not carried out such evictions for almost 4 months after the government prohibited evictions during the COVID-19 lockdown if no alternative housing is provided. With lockdown not yet lifted in the country with the most COVID-19 cases in Africa, it is unclear for many why this eviction took place. According to the government, about 1.2 million people in the Gauteng province, consisting of Pretoria and Johannesburg, are in need of adequate housing. Now, a Kenyan journalist, Yazin Juma, who has been in detention in Ethiopia since last month, has contracted COVID-19, his lawyer, Kedit Bolo, has told the media. Mr. Juma was due to appear in court in the capital, Addis Ababa, but failed to do so because of his illness, Mr. Bolo added. A federal court ordered his release on bail last week, but Addis Ababa police said they were still investigating charges against him and kept him in detention. He was arrested with 2 Ethiopian journalists. They had been accused of inciting ethnic violence and plotting to kill senior Ethiopian officials. All 3 deny allegations. Plans to allow industrial logging in one of Central Africa's last intact forests have been halted in a move welcomed by environmental campaigners. Ebo Forest in southwestern Cameroon is home to 40 Banene communities and numerous endangered wildlife species, including western gorillas, chimpanzees, forest elephants, grey parrots, and large frogs. Experts say forests also play a critical role in the absorption of CO2 from the atmosphere. On Tuesday, Cameroon's government formally announced it was cancelling a previous decree that would have allowed timber extraction across nearly half of the 150,000-hectare forest. Greenpeace responded on Thursday, saying the suspension of logging operation must be the first step towards protecting the lives of airborne residents. It has vowed to keep campaigning along with its partner, Rainforest Rescue. Government official told newsmen that the forest will eventually be reclassified either as a logging concession or as a protected forest. He added that Cameroon is conscious of the need for environmental conservation, pointing to the fact that 30% of the national territory is under conservation. That is much we can take on news across Africa. Daybreak Africa continues shortly.
All right, welcome back. That was news across Africa there. So it's time to move to our next package on the program, which is the Healthy Living Desk. So let's go to the Healthy Living Desk now.
Welcome to Healthy Living. We help you to live a healthy life. On today's episode, we'll be talking about metabolism and how it affects us. Metabolism is the process the body uses to convert food into energy. We eat convert food into energy. Some people are fast oxidizers who can rapidly convert food into energy. In order to balance their systems, fast oxidizers need to eat heavier proteins and fats that burn slowly. In contrast, slow oxidizers convert food into energy at a slow rate. In order to balance their systems, they eat mainly carbohydrates rather than protein and fat. 3 general metabolic types. Protein types. Protein types are fast oxidizers or parasympathetic dominant. They tend to be frequently hungry, crave fatty, salty foods, fail with low-calorie diets, and tend towards fatigue, anxiety, and nervousness. Carbo types. Carbo types are slow oxidizers or sympathetic dominant. They generally have relatively weak appetites, a high tolerance for sweets, problems with weight management, and type A personalities. Mixed types. Mixed types are neither fast or slow oxidizers and are neither parasympathetic or sympathetic dominant. They generally have average appetites, cravings for sweet and starchy foods, relatively little trouble with weight control, and tend towards fatigue, anxiety, and nervousness. What to eat? The 3 metabolic types have very different lists of commendable foods. Protein types. These people need a diet that is rich in oils and high proteins such as organ meats, beef, duck meat, poultry, and seafood including salmon, tuna, herring, and mussels. Protein types can also eat fats such as egg, whole milk, cream, and whole milk cheese. The carbohydrate intake should be low with a focus on complex carbs, whole grains, vegetables over simple ones, sugary, starchy foods. They should aim for a macronutrient balance of 40% protein, 30% fats, and 30% carbs at each meal. Carbo types. These types need a diet that is high in carbohydrates and low in protein, fats, and oils. They eat low purine proteins such as turkey and chicken, light meat only, and lighter fish like haddock, perch, sole, and flounder. Carbo types should stick with low-fat dairy products and eat lots of vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. They don't need to load up on refined carbs. Their ideal macronutrient balance is 60% carbs and about 20% of both fats and protein. Mixed types. People classified as mixed types should eat a mixed diet, one that is a mixture of high fat, high purine proteins and low fat, low purine proteins such as eggs, yogurt, tofu, and nuts. This type requires relatively equal ratios of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. That is much we have for today on healthy living. Remember, a healthy body is a wealthy soul.
All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is still Daybreak Africa here on Television Nigeria. Remember, you can stream us live on our YouTube page at Television Nigerian. So
we just listened to Healthy Living Tips from our Healthy Living desk
on metabolism.
Yes.
All right, let's move to our next package, which is a vox pop on Obasanjo asking youth to vote out old politicians.
You know, we're still feeling fresh, relinquishing from the euphoria of the International Youth Day that was largely celebrated across the globe last year.
Yeah.
And you know, on that particular day, we had a guest and we were talking about we like the fact that there's this level of awareness that came with this year's celebration.
Yeah.
And then we saw that at Osun State, there was a celebration at the palace of the king, Oni of Ife, precisely, and then there was another celebration organized by a foundation where Obasanjo went and he addressed the youth that drew participants from all over the world, Ghana, America, different part of the world. And then one take home from that meeting where Obasanjo was that he asked the youth to take over
leadership.
He, in his way, he asked them to shove aside or push the
old politicians
away.
And then people started asking questions like, if he was still actively involved in politics, would he actually make that statement?
You know, there was this particular time where he wrote a letter. You know, he's been writing letters ever since he left office. And then he wrote a letter to President Muhammadu Buhari, and some people were trying to criticize him that when he was there, he didn't see all of that. And somebody came to his defense and he said, we learn on a daily. It might be that after he left, he has already learned, because they were trying to bring his third-term agenda into the picture and trying to see how his love to hold on to power, but if not for the doggedness of his vice then, which actually put them on a very separate course until last election, before we saw that reunion to an extent. And a whole lot of talks
there. Well, it goes beyond the talks about saying that they should drive away the older politicians. I mean, he himself was a politician at one time, one of the key persons in the country. So I'm sure if he goes a long way to make advocacies, awareness, more of it, and try to bring up the younger
when he said that, I was actually wondering, like, okay, how are the youth going to do that? It's just more like, okay, throwing a very vague statement at you, and then you go sort it out yourself. But there was something he said. He said it's about that time these youth started holding the leaders accountable, especially judging from the party's constitution. You know, we tend to shy away from the party's constitution, and then each political party or platform has their own constitution. So if people are in power, then maybe sometimes we get too carried away by the enormous weight and then the celebration and everything that has to do, or the responsibility that has to do with whatever position they are occupying, and then the general constitution of the country. But what happens to the constitution of the party? So when he said that, I saw a whole lot of sense in that, and I'd be like, okay, I think it's about that time.
No, that's the thing. Away from the sense making of the speech, definitely there is nobody that is quite good up there that would say there's a wrong. It doesn't make any sense with what he said. What he says makes sense, but then it goes beyond just saying it. Anyway, let's listen to what the people had to say on the street.
The former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo made a statement on the International Youth Day celebration, making the statement that the youth should move the old politicians out of power. We're here to find out what the reactions of Nigerian youth will have to say. To the statement that Obasanjo said on the International Youth Day celebration that the youth should move the old politicians out of power.
Yes, sir. It's a very, very good opinion, because the last time I checked, when their Obasanjo at their teenage age, they ruled Nigeria at their very young age then. Even Yakubu Gowon ruled Nigeria at 25 years. I wonder why these old politicians now are coming back to rule us again. Why they have already ruled us when they are young. So it's a very good opinion, and it's a very good option that the youth, the old one should get out for the youth to come and do something in this country.
So how do you get them out?
Getting them out will be let the youth be fully participated into politics.
I know it won't be easy because nobody wants to lose. None of them wants to lose. All they are just checking out is all their own selfish interest. But if you say the youth should go into power, it just really mean you are trying to bring Nigeria up to revolution, because check Ghana back then. Why Ghana has a nice economy now and living okay, they did revolution, of which most of their youth now are in power. Even not becoming president, they still acknowledge them for being the youth of the country. So whatsoever you say about Nigeria now is giving us ammunition to fight those men now. Because say you saying that should bring them out of power now and put the youth there is something I don't believe it can come up in like 10 years time.
All these old politicians, they have done nothing for this country, seriously. Because if you talk about school now, so many of our youth are still outside, no job. We really need a new politician, like a young guy, a young politician who knows the pain of the street and of the masses. You understand? So that this country can move forward. Because all these old politicians, they have still enough money for this country. Seriously, I have to say this.
I like what the senior man say, because he don't see what in the happen now. Because now you they suffer past now. So good, may they just meet themselves, may they know how or something like that. Because now you they suffer past now. Because they suffer, no work, nothing. And now you go to they go carry the fit to do everything now.
What you say, I think to me is correct, because for now we sound like we were expected to be at least holding a position or contest for something, or a councillor. At least with my age now, I'm qualified to contest for councillor. But maybe you go there now, you now discover maybe a person at the rate of maybe 50 years, 60 years is there. You understand? And what made that person to be there is that maybe your own position, maybe it should be a chairman or a governor. But when you get to that seat, then maybe you now meet a person at the rate of maybe the same 50 years or 70 years on that position. So I think our position will be sold out. That is why.
What the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, has said is a very striking point. And it's unfortunate that the people who lead us till today are men who are too advanced in age and they don't know the know-how of the 21st century. Because we cannot be leading a country where there are youths who are vibrant and who know the system of the 21st century, and we have old men who have been in these positions for time past, and then they don't want to relinquish these positions. We have people in power, David Mark, Saraki, they've been in the house for how long? How many youths have held positions of those highest level? Our president, who is there, is over 70-something years. So it's not just about saying the youths are the leaders. There is no proper environment for these youths to take this position. What do I mean? We live in a country where there is no employment. There is no opportunity for a youth to give any impact to the society he is. So how can this youth take the opportunity? How do you want to even flush out those who are in power if you don't create an opportunity? In these political parties, there are no opportunities. I am a member of a political party. When I go for meetings, nobody wants to be heard apart from the old wigs who have been there since time immemorial. So it's not just about saying it. What President Olusegun Obasanjo said is a very striking point. But what did he even do during his own time? Even during his time, we had people who had led us past in the military, lead us in civilian regime. The same thing is going on. It happened in Yar'Adua's regime. It happened in Goodluck's regime. And it is still happening presently. As it is currently, they are still making modalities for people like Atiku and the rest who are aged in this business, in this political business, to take over 2023. It's a very good one. It's a very good one. We need a fresh mind and people who are God-fearing. True. But the old men, they have old ideas. So new people, the youth, they ought to come to the power and follow the new system of the world. Things changes, things evolve. You understand? So we need fresh minds for the country to move ahead, forward. As you can look around, the world is evolving, is changing, things are changing. Digital time we are. We are no more in a old time and system of life, old system of life. The manual time, you understand? So we are in a digital age. The fresh people, the youth, they will follow the system and they will employ the youth also. The number of youth that are increasing every day.
So how are you going to move the old men out of power?
How to move the old men out of power is still in the hand of the youth. The way they behave, their behavior. Because some youth, a lot of youth today behave their way, their life, their behavior style. You understand? The style of their life have even changed the mind of the good elders, the old men. They thought that there's nothing good come out of youth. The good thing cannot come out of youth. You understand? Because of the unseriousness they see in them, in the youth. You understand?
How are they not serious?
You can see when, like last election, some youth came for president. Some youth came for president. Instead of them to vote for the youth, you understand? They now turn to the two major parties.
You said the youth are not serious. So what did they do? The presidents that were youth that came, what happened?
The youth president, you understand? The one that is youth that came back.
Did the youth vote them?
They didn't vote them in mass. They depend on the two major parties. They depended, you understand? They depended on the two major parties.
Are you saying that the youth went to vote the old man?
You say?
Are you saying that the youth did not vote the young man?
Yes.
The young men, they decided to vote for the old man?
The old man. You understand?
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I saw. I saw it. It happened. That's why the present administration is here. It's here today.
So do you think that Obasanjo saying that they should move the old men out of politics is a good statement?
It's a very good one.
Yes, of course. At least let the new youths come to the power. Things will change.
These are the reactions of Nigerians on the streets celebrating the International Youth Day celebration. The former President Olusegun Obasanjo, actually said that the youth should take the bull by the horn by moving the old politicians out. Please drop your comment.
All right, welcome back. Well, that was the people's view there.
Just like you rightly said, that nobody would say that it's not a nice opinion. It's a very nice opinion. But from the reaction of the people on the street, I just felt like from the view of the youth, they were sounding like they are at a crossroad. Like you said, okay, you've told us this. How do we go about it?
How do we go about it? You know, it's just like the other day, the guest we brought on Youth Day, and he was talking about the books that he wrote. The first one talking about how you can bring about the change. What you can do.
It's never enough for you to say
you want to do this.
Change begins with you. You need to lead the change you want to see.
So he now had to write another book stating how you can go about the whole process. So when he's making that statement, the next thing we want to see is enlightening the people, enlightening the youth.
Like you were saying that if it goes beyond him saying
it or making
that
statements,
maybe he should just be giving advocacies, lending his voice
out. Let it be out there that he's for the
supporting
youths,
these people. Because from one of these persons that spoke, he said that's more like arming the youth for revolution, and we know what happens when the youth are on the street protesting or maybe gearing up for revolution.
Yeah, so they don't get it in the wrong light. All right, well, that's much we can take today on the program Daybreak Africa here on television, Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Mercy Joe.
And my name is Elvis Oga. Of course, we won't get tired of telling you thanks a lot for being part of the program. And then tomorrow, same time, same place, we'll be back for another interesting outing. Meanwhile, we have a package we believe in you with.
Anyway, that's a street crate on the Edo 2020 elections. Young people reacting to Oshomale's interference in the elections.
And don't forget, after that, Business Daily with Chichi, it's coming true.
Let Oshomale calm down. Let Obaseki and Eze Yamo battle it between themselves. He has not to involve himself totality as if he's the one contesting for the election. Look at him, he's everywhere. He's no, is he go for top 10?
Numbers of unemployment in this country.
I'm from Edo State. My name is Yaman Polycarp.
Who do you think is going to win the election? Is it the Obaseki or Ezeyamo?
Actually, the fight is not supposed to be between Adash Oshiomhole and Ezeyamo. It's supposed to be Obaseki and Ezeyamo. But the involvement of Oshiomhole to achieve his ambitions of destabilizing the peace of Edo State is wrong. Myself, I'm supporting Obaseki because based on what I heard, he has done well and the people of Edo State are proud of him. But I'm using this, let me use this venue or this media to send a message to Oshiomhole that what he is doing right now in Edo State is very, very wrong. He should go back to his senses and rethink that he should not put Edo State asunder. Let Edo State have peace. And I believe by the grace of God, Obaseki will come out victoriously.
If you may hear you well, what do you think Adam Oshiomhole is doing that is not right? What do you think this is?
If you can see, before the election, did they not said, let's look at the view of the screening process before the election. You see all the policies they play around it, and they kick out the Obaseki who's supposed to be the rightful candidate of APC. That was not fair. And
are you an APC member?
No, I'm not. I'm not both member. But I'm looking at the scenario that surrounded everything. That the role of Oshiomhole is playing in APC and Edo politics as well is wrong. So I want to tell you that I'm not happy about it. Let Oshiomhole calm down. Let Obaseki and Ezeyamo battle it between themselves. He has not to involve himself totality as if he's the one contesting for the election. Look at him, he's everywhere. He's no, is he go for top 10 after he has been chairman, APC chairman nationwide? Is he coming now to contest for the top 10, which is not possible? So what I'm saying in essence is that he should allow Obaseki and Ezeyamo play the ball in a battlefield. His involvement in it is very, very wrong, and he's putting the people at Edo State in a wrong position. So this is my view.
So what is your advice to Edo people, Edo youth, towards this election coming?
Of course, I'm a youth, I'm part of them, but I want to advise my dear fellow Edo youth that they should not involve themselves in anarchy, in a way that we put the state in chaos. They should come down and think that these people they are campaigning for is for the benefit of their family. And after any of them must have won, they may not remember that. So I want to advise them that they should take it easy. They should go out there and vote whoever they have in their mind to vote.